Before we get to today's events, let's talk about this Ukrainian counteroffensive that we've been talking about for so long. What do we know? Is it about to get underway? Is it underway? What do we know about it?
Yes, well, it's been eagerly anticipated for months now, hasn't it? And the Ukrainians have been managing everyone's expectations quite rightly because they've got to get this right. However, what we've seen is General Zelenskyy, who is the Ukrainian commander-in-chief of all Ukrainian forces, has released a very slick, admittedly as a propaganda video, but it talks about the resolve and the determination and the readiness of the Ukrainian armed forces to do it well. It's entitled, "The Time Has Come to Take Back What's Ours." And there's always a role for propaganda, remember. Churchill in the 1940s, and this is very well put together, and it's a strong message. Take back what's ours. Danilov, who's the Ukrainian National Security Council secretary, has given an interview only today saying the Ukrainian counteroffensive is ready. It won't be today, it might not be tomorrow, but he's then talking about only a matter of weeks. So once they've said this publicly now, I think they are setting the expectation that we will see something relatively soon.
OK, let's talk about Belgorod and what's happened today. What exactly is the situation in that region?
Well, the events are over now after a couple of days. Two Russian nationalist militias crossed the border from Ukraine and essentially took over a Russian town. And from the Russian authorities, 10,000 citizens were displaced. And then Russian troops and police eventually forced them out. Casualties are disputed, but the Ukrainians are saying it was nothing to do with us. These are Russian citizens. This clearly shows that the Russian state has problems. I would imagine the Ukrainians aren't unhappy to see Russians fighting Russians just over the border, and will have facilitated this for the Russian militia, but they won't have taken part.
OK, let's talk about Bakhmut, another region, another city that we've been talking about for so many months now. What about the UK's Ministry of Defence saying that it's likely that the Wagner forces have started their withdrawal?
Yes, well, it's only a day or so after Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of Wagner, trumpeted that he'd finally taken this city, which is now flattened and has no strategic value. And only a few days later, he's announcing actually he's pulling his troops out. But interestingly, in contrast with that Ukrainian, very purposeful, determined show of national unity, he's released a video saying he lost 20% of his forces in Bakhmut, 10,000 troops. He's admitted that the Russian army has lost another 10,000. So the Russians have lost a large amount of men and material in Bakhmut, and for what? And Prigozhin has then questioned the efficiency of the Russian army and the conduct of the Russian war in general. So you've now got the Russian leadership tearing itself apart in public. Contrast that with the Ukrainian messaging.